Rodgers, but it would take that too, and he was the next thing to it until I saw Mahomes. Guys, Mahomes is so good, it's like he's toying with the league. And on top of that, he has a great coach in Andy Reid and Tyreek Hill, when last checked, the fastest land mammal, and Travis Kelce, at this moment, the best tight end on earth. And by the way, one of the best pass-catching tight ends of all time. What are you going to do? Clyde Edwards-Helaire wasn't great yesterday, but he's a weapon. The Chiefs' defense is a little better than given credit for this year, in fact, even if it's not quite what it was last year. Guys, Patrick Mahomes against a young and hungry playoff contender that can really play defense, against a promising young first-round quarterback who played pretty well yesterday, on the road, against a Dolphins team that really needs to win to keep pace with the Bills. Patrick Mahomes throws 2 interceptions in the first quarter. They're down 10-0 before you can blink, and by halftime it's 14-10. And then what was it? By the end of the third quarter, what was it, 30-10? Then they get a little bored and they let the other team back in the game. Usually the Chiefs do that. Usually either in the beginning of the game, in the early part of the season, the Chargers, for example, or later in the game against the Bucs. Last night, against the Dolphins, yesterday against the Dolphins. They kind of make it interesting for a little while, but it's like a cat playing with a mouse. They're better than everybody, and even on Patrick Mahomes' worst day of the season, where he threw 3 interceptions, he also threw for almost 400 yards, 393 yards, and beat an excellent team on the road. Chiefs ain't losing.
First of all, none of us believe they're losing. They're the prohibitive favorite. But talk about engaging in hyperbole, an act of God. Okay. Well, you know what? I mean, where did they play this game? They played this game near South Beach yesterday, right? Did God show up there? I saw Patrick Mahomes sacked 3 times. I saw a 67-yard punt return by McCole Hardman. I saw the Chiefs offense generate 23 points. I mean, stop the presses. Oh, my God. What a juggernaut right there. What a juggernaut performance, rather. 23 points. I mean, excuse me. The Chiefs can be beat if you get to Patrick Mahomes. Now, if you let him stand back, take pictures, call the wife, let him know what time he's coming home, all of that other stuff, and, that's a different ballgame because he's only been sacked 18 times this year, which means we need to give credit to that offensive line for pass protection. No question about it. We get all of that. But what I'm saying is, although they're the favorites and it's undeniable, what I'm not going to ignore is the fact that if you get to the quarterback, you can cause some problems. And Patrick Mahomes has shown some vulnerability in that regard. They lost to the Raiders earlier this year, even though the Raiders scored 40 points to beat them. But some of the time, they were laying some licks on them. Yesterday, Miami was getting at them a little bit. No question about it. I understand it. Again, they're the prohibitive favorites. We all would bet our money on them. Nobody's dismissing that. But to say an act of God, how about an act of Shaq Lawson? How about an act of Jerome Baker, who had 2.5 sacks? How about an act of Xavier Howard, who, by the way, this kid right here is one of the best cornerbacks in football. He's special, leading the league in interceptions, by the way. The brother can play. And so when I look at it from that perspective, all I'm trying to say is that, again, they're special. But can they be had? Sure, if they don't bring their A game, they can be had.
Did they bring their A game yesterday?
No.
Right. They didn't bring their A game yesterday against a well-coached, hungry young team on the road whose quarterback actually had a nice performance. First-round, high-end quarterback had a nice performance. All those different acts you referred to, weren't enough. How are you going to beat Mahomes? What are you going to do? You want to bring extra guys? He's going to shred you. You want to rely on a good pass rush without bringing extra guys? He's got a running back.
I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to you right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to you right now. I just got two questions. I want one-word answers, and then the floor is yours. Number 1, are the Chiefs undefeated this year? Yes or no?
No.
Question number 2. How many games do you have to lose come playoff time to be sent home?
1.
Floor is yours.
The Chiefs aren't going to lose any high-leverage games, Stephen A.
All it takes is one bad day.
For example,
all it takes is one bad afternoon.
That's my point, even on a bad afternoon. Now, the first time they played the Raiders, they may have been a little bit overconfident. The Raiders are built just for the Chiefs since they're a divisional rival. They played probably the best game of their careers, and they beat the Chiefs. And in the rematch, the Chiefs beat them. Mm-hmm. And the Chiefs aren't going to go undefeated every year. But in the playoffs, my bet is they're going to go undefeated this year just as they did last year. Everything you're pointing out, right? Think of how much went wrong for Kansas City. Look, Mahomes went from 2 interceptions, 31 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, to what do you have, 3 touchdown passes yesterday, to 5 interceptions. He threw 3. One was just a nice play, but 2 of them, were probably mistakes. So that is a bad game for Mahomes, right? Hilaire wasn't very good yesterday. They were playing a good team that got a good performance from their quarterback and their defense, obviously. And still they won. And yeah, it got kind of hairy at the end, but it was misleading. You never really felt like the Chiefs were going to lose that game. Again, they were up 30-10. All those things I told you were true. They were up 30-10 at one point. They're just not going to lose.
Quote me on this. 2 points. If the Chiefs give up if they spot somebody 24 or 17, like they did in the divisional playoff and the AFC Championship game last year, they ain't going back to the Super Bowl. And if Patrick Mahomes plays like he played in the Super Bowl for the first 3 quarters against Jimmy G and the crew, if he does that again, they ain't winning the Super Bowl. Mark it down.
They talk about a handicap.
You better not play like
that.
The
other team should say, you know what? I'll bet you if we can jump out to a 24-0 lead this year, they can't beat us because, after all, we're a playoff team. We're good enough to get here. If they give us 24 points, they won't come back on us. And here's the bad news, Stephen A.
All right,
they will.
Right. All right. They won despite a -3 turnover margin. That's a career worst for Patrick Mahomes. When we come back here on First Take, more football to get into. There's a new squad in first place of the NFC least. Who's going to lock up the division when it's all said and done? And it may come down to the GOATs in the NFC. You know who I'm talking about. Who will be the more important